Hello, and welcome back to Suzerain with the Republic of Swordland. And today's episode, well, we continue on after auspicious meeting in a movie theater, and the President attending the Day of Dissension. As part of the grand ceremony, the Day of Dissension has begun with festivities in the air. President Rain was in attendance along with His Holiness, the Archbishop, who together performed the sacred ritual. The momentous occasion was celebrated by everyone, regardless of their rank and status. Swordland has once again felt unity amidst chaos to come together, forgot their differences, and celebrated the Word of God. And it's going on in the Nurse Republic of Durdia. Durian blessings for Swordish Dissension ritual. Supreme Wiseman Jorga Asmal has expressed his deep appreciation for President Anton Rain's successful conduct of the Day of Dissension rituals. He congratulated the President on his performance and sent blessings on behalf of the Nurse Republic of Durdia. Asmal's congratulatory message highlighted the potential for religious diplomacy in fostering stronger relations between our countries. However, he expressed hope that this religious goodwill can translate into improved political and social conditions for all Nurist, but specifically Gulkanist in Swordland. Well, I'm sorry, family. Well, I did say, you know what, let's have our family dinner at home first. I did say that I was being a bad husband. Alright, I can erase all that now. I arrived from home from work, hung my jacket up, and put my briefcase in the hall. I paused, awaiting my usual greetings from my wife and daughter. Deanna was out on her after-school art classes, I remembered, but where was Monica? From the living room, I heard a muffled sob. I entered to find Monica sitting on the sofa, a letter in her hands, and a look of despair in her face. Darling, what's wrong? Monica briefly rested her head on my shoulder, then handed me the letter. It's from the Department of Education. Frank's university exam results are in. How did he do? See for yourself. I looked at the page below Frank's name and address. The score was written. 435 points out of a total of 1,000. At the bottom of the letter, the word failed was stamped in red. All these years of effort, all those private lessons, all down the drain. Does he know the results yet? No, but he should be back from school soon. I just don't understand. Frank's a smart boy. Why would he sabotage himself like this? I heard a key turning in the front door. Frank stomped in and was about to go straight upstairs when he noticed us both in the living room. Mom? Dad? What's going on? Have a seat, Frank. He took a seat across from us, and I handed him the letter. He started reading it. Oh, shit. Son, we're not angry at you. I need a moment. We're just disappointed. He went to the kitchen sink and watched his face. A moment later, he came back. I never thought this would happen. I'm so sorry. It's my fault. I should have been around to help you study, right? You should have taken a break from running the country to help your loser son. Ugh. Frank looked close to tears. Monica put her hand on his shoulder. It's gonna be okay, but you really should have studied harder, Frank. I know. So, what am I supposed to do now? Well, there's always military school, but you're the president's son. You still have options. Yes! Yes, yes, yes! Monica surprised me with her enthusiasm. If Alfonso could get his dim-wit son into Kings Hill University, I'm sure Holdsword State would have room for a bright boy like Frank. It would be nice to have him closer to home. Holdsword State would be amazing. A bunch of my friends are going there. I could still come home to do my laundry. But I failed the exam. This sucks. Are you sure about all of this? Isn't it technically illegal? Unfortunately, Holdsword is a no-go. We don't have the money right now. All thanks to you and your privatizations changes. You could always study abroad. You know how I feel about the communists, but People's University in Cortana is free. It also has an excellent medical program. Communism? I can dig that. Not exactly how I was expecting to spend my student years, but anything's better than the military. This is the future of our boy, Anton. What should we do? Well, we don't have money because I gave it all to Serge. I mean, literally, we would have like, what, 2 personal wealth? Like, we literally... we paid for Serge's kid to go to, like, school. But now we don't have enough to pay our own kid to go to school. This is how you do it, y'all. Do. We help Serge more than our own family. Yeah. I don't know what to do because we are going full cap. See, the thing is, my character is not a military person. I've defunded the military. It's not my thing. And I'm also a pure capitalist. My guy does not like communism. He's against it. So now I'm stuck between 2 options that my character doesn't like either of them. You know what? I'm a D&D player. Where's my dice? I'll post an image of my dice roll. There we go. Got my dice set. Okay. Got a lot of dice sets actually, but I'm gonna grab up this one. Alright. I'll post a picture of the dice roll when this episode comes out. 10 or up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 or down is military. 11 or up is United Cortana. That's a 19. United Cortana it is. Wait, did I say? I actually don't remember which one was which. I think that was United Cortana. I'm actually going to be right back. I'm going to double check what I said because I genuinely don't remember. I'm dumb, I know. Alright, I'll see you in a moment. Alright, we are back. And yes, I did say United Cortana. I've rolled my dice. We're going for United Cortana. It's been decided. You're going to United Cortana, Frank. Thanks, Dad. Mustard State still would have been my first choice. Not only yours, but it's your call to make after the way I messed up. I also don't have the money is the bigger thing. I would have probably sent you to Holsford State if I had the money. Monica had a long exhale. What a day. Who's hungry for dinner? Monica disappeared to the kitchen, Frank to his room. I went to my office and began making some phone calls. Well, Enough with the bloodish protests. Once again, the bloodish protests in the country have claimed its toll. This time the toll was an injured child on his way home from school. 13-year-old DK unknowingly entered the protest grounds. The police tried to suppress the protesters and the chaos ensued. Trapped between the police and the protesters, he was injured in the following stampede. His treatment still continues in Holsford General Hospital. When will this end? People are demanding answers from the administration. Ashraf anniversary. Watana Ashraf, hero to some, enemy to others, he is for sure one of the most controversial figures that have ever lived in our country. As his anniversary is approaching, there's one question that is shared in everyone's mind. What would the administration do? Every year, people gather in Suzerain to hold a vigil in the solemn anniversary of his death. They light their candles in the memory and hold cultural festivities. What is different this year, however, the claims that the British movement will be holding their largest rally yet in Suzerain during the anniversary. Perhaps it is time for the administration to let bygones be bygones and take a step to display the unity of Swordland to the people who very much need it. I could see that. Education privatization. Are our children doomed? As we expected, Anton Rain's decision to privatize Swordland education system has had serious effect. Yeah, it has. I have noticed that. Oops. Young people in rural and low-income areas are being increasingly priced out of the education they deserve, while a relatively small handful of wealthy families reap the benefits. As proof, witness the higher-than-ever gap between test scores in Narbel and Holsor. We had high hopes for the education minister Ciara Walda when Renee first appointed her, but she seems to only be enabling his delusions that corporations will solve all of Sorlin's problems. Clearly, they both need to go. Alright. Yeah, things are going great. New school completed. Narbel celebrated the opening of its new secondary school, a 2-story building with 50 classrooms and state-of-the-art teaching equipment. The school is funded as part of the government initiative to improve rural access to education. Well, hey, higher education's getting harder, lower education's getting easier, so at least we'll have somewhat educated populace. ATO expresses concern over drug trafficking in central Maricopa. The ATO has issued a vehement condemnation of the drug trafficking activities in central Maricopa. The illicit trade is said to span several regions, including Colorado, Erdmark, Welland, and is particularly concentrated in Agard. A growing concern for the international community, Agard, under the rule of narco lord Severo Rios, has earned an infamous reputation as a major hub of the narcotics trade. Rios, however, maintains that his intentions are to regulate and legitimize the drug trade, rather than exploiting it illegally. Surprisingly, he has even expressed an interest in acquiring ATO observer status in an attempt to engage more openly with the international community and alleviate concerns. Nevertheless, the ATO's concerns revolve around not just the law and order aspect, but also the stabilizing social-economic impact of the activity. Drug trafficking has boosted the shadow economy, bred corruption, and fueled violence in the regions. The ATO insists on a robust international effort to counter these activities, despite the ambitious and somewhat controversial propositions from Rios. Honestly, I like to imagine that while we were having that discussion about where to send them, whether military school or to Cortana, United Cortana, I literally said, I don't know where to send you. Wait, I've got it. And I just pulled out a dice, rolled it. You're going to Cortana. And he's like, and my family's just like, what? I just love the idea of that actually being what I did. Briefing on the diplomatic strategy. The doors to the White Room, like everything else in the Maroon Palace's main nerve center, were painted white. I took a deep breath before pushing them open. Time for yet another meeting. At least this time, it was with people I liked, who liked me. I mean, I don't know about Isa Felicia, but definitely David Whiskey and Lucian Gallade. 100%. The attendants rose up from their seats. Mr. President. Isaac nodded. He and Lucian sat down, while David remained standing. Now that you are here, let's talk about our diplomatic strategy. Mr. President, if I may, I would like to provide you with a short overview of where we are at right now. Nod and gesture for David to begin. We have successfully passed trade deals with both Welland and Agnolia, which means we have increased our presence in those regions. These deals were important pieces of leverage and significant first steps in the global arena. We must now look towards the future. Go on. David sat down and pulled out a few papers and started going through them as he kept talking. Welland and Agnolia were practice runs. We must begin improving our relations with greater nations. We need to elevate our international standing, especially with the threat of Rumberg blooming. Mr. President, you know me. I don't trust the helping hands of other countries offer us for a good reason. But I also know when those helping hands are necessary. And right now, we need all the help we can get. I've said this over and over, but I will repeat it until you get it through your skull. Rumberg will come, sooner or later. With the current state of our military, if Rumberg invasion happens, Swordland will cease to exist. We need allies. We ought to head to General Lancia's advice, Mr. President. I trust your assessment, Izov. Thank you, Mr. President. A military perspective is important, but these deals are more than just gaining allies. We also need to consider the benefits to our economy such deals will provide. I mean, yeah, I'd love to improve our economy even more. At this point, that's my legacy for the most part. My economic growth is probably going to be my presidential legacy more than anything else after that failed vote. But, but the economy, I have done the economy well. We may be close to ending the recession, yes, but why not go a step further? Agreed. David took a seat and brought out 2 stacks of documents. At the start of our term, I had a comprehensive trade deal plan laid out. Following the visits with Welland and Agnolia, we are to pursue potential trade deals with 2 greater nations. Vagsland is one of them, or at least was. Unfortunately, a trade deal with them no longer seems possible. In Vagsland's case, their intentions on Hedgeland have been clear for many years. Our deal with Agnolia regarding the island did not sit well with them. That's an underestimate. The Alliance of Nations has spent years debating the status of Hedgeland. Becoming one of the first world leaders to recognize the island as Agnolian was quite the statement. The alliance with Agnolia itself was also a slap in the face where Vagsland was concerned. Now these communists won't be able to invade Agnolia without facing the might of the Swordish armed forces. It will make them think twice. True, but as a result, we won't be able to conduct a trade deal, let alone proceed with any diplomatic missions. What is done is done. Let's look forward. As you wish. As we stand right now, any kind of deal with Vagsland is simply out of the question. Moving on to Lesbia. Well, sorry you guys get less content, because we're just not going to get that trade deal. Even try, which, fair. I kind of expected that. Our southern neighbor is one of the wealthiest countries in eastern Recopa. A trade deal with them would be very beneficial, not just for our economy, but also for our regional and international presence. Not to mention that they are an Arcasian spear. Because we would like to be following through with our promise to lean westward, we would also strengthen our voter base. Indeed, this deal could also be the first step in allying ourselves with Lesbia, or even entering ATO. Sordland will get its rightful place within ATO. That would be the best outcome. That is it for the overview. As to the actual contents of the trade deal, Lucian pulled out his small notebook and quickly flipped through the pages until he handed on to the right one. Looking at my stats here, we now have a small tungsten surplus, which makes an excellent resource for trade. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I need to know your decision before we can proceed. What should we do? Before you say anything, remember what I said. We need allies, not just a trade deal. If Rumberg attacks, we will fail. Begin negotiations with Lesbia. Excellent news. I will begin at once. That was all I had for today. Thank you for coming. Thank you, gentlemen. Isaac saluted as he left the White Room. Okay, let's see what's going on. Oh. National security threat. Ministry of Defense identifies a possible national security threat on the borders of the area due to lack of sufficient defense, making it an open target. The city is labeled to be in the red zone, which highlights the vulnerable position of the city and defines it as a weak spot. Yeah, makes sense. But the healthcare quality has improved, so there's my healthcare benefits going up. There you go. So, weak our growth. We're still stable, though. In fact, we're still growing slowly. Reports from hospitals and clinics in Laren indicate a significant rise in the quality of healthcare, since additional funding was channeled into rural areas. Mortality rates appear to be decreasing, while patients are reporting a higher level of trust in physicians and medical facilities. Woo! Let's go! New hospital built. Suzerain has just finished construction of its new state-of-the-art hospital, expected to accommodate up to 1,000 patients. The facility was built as part of a new initiative to improve healthcare access in Sordland's rural areas. Let's go! Things are going good! Port of Lachhaven gains new importance following the completion of the L1 high-speed railway between Holsord and Lachhaven. The Port of Lachhaven has been experiencing higher traffic than ever. An increasing number of businesses are now choosing to ship their goods by boat as a result of the more efficient transit process. And the Welland trade report. The trade deal struck with Welland continues to bear fruit as Bergia sees an upward trend in agriculture exports. Manufacturing industries are also celebrating the decreased production costs that have resulted from the uptick in importation of Wessex oil in the aftermath of Operation Bear Trap. Have actually just all good things from those ones? Do we have any bad news? Yeah, we do have a little bad news. I thought we were only gonna have good news today. Like, for once, everything was looking great. So, that never happens. Several villages in Bergia have been safely placed under quarantine after a few polio cases were diagnosed in the region. The outbreak is largely confined to Welland, and there is little chance of further infections occurring in Swordland. Even if there was, the disease's most notorious symptom, paralysis, is only seen in a minute percentage of cases, and there is no need to alter the Swordish way of life. As Health Minister Pascal Binwall has suggested with his vaccination program in order to prevent its spread. Concerning news from Bergia, several cases of polio have recently been diagnosed in the region. The outbreak, thought to have originally across the border in Welland, is currently confined to just a few villages, which are now under strict quarantine. However, Health Minister Pascal Binwall has called for swift action, including countrywide vaccination, to prevent the case numbers from multiplying. We concur this disease, which is known to cause paralysis in several cases, is a serious threat and must be contained at all cost. Man, you guys have very different views of this situation. Rain will visit Lesbia for a trade deal. President Rain has scheduled a visit to Lesbia in order to discuss a possible trade deal with Prime Minister Patricio Alvarez. Exactly what would be on the table is unclear, although insiders speculate Rain could be preparing to offer Swordish fish, wheat, coal, or tungsten in exchange for Lesbian capital. An alliance between the two countries is also not out of the question, which is clear that the visit will bring Swordland closer to alignment with Arcadia, like we said we would. Cabinet meeting on the results of the vote. Yeah. Lucien stood upwards, holding a large folder of files under his arm. He bowed in acknowledgement. He looked exhausted. The cabinet has gathered in the White Room, sir. The Vice President will be opening a session soon. We can go in whenever you're ready. Anything you want to say before we go in? No, sir. Just keep your cool with the cabinet. I believe concerns will be raised in the meeting. What are you saying? Should I be expecting something? No, sir. I don't believe there's anything we didn't expect. However, a failure of the reforms had a huge impact on public opinion. The party is quite discontent about the whole situation. They believe your presidency has destroyed the USP's prestige. We need their trust. We have to do something to prove our capabilities. Of course, sir. Let's discuss that in the meeting. He gestured at the door with the files he held. I think we should go, sir. Mr. Vice President must have started the session already. Lucien held the door for me, and we both left the office for the White Room. When we entered the room, Peter was speaking to the cabinet members who were already seated around the table. As soon as they noticed me, they all stood up. Good day, everybody. Please have a seat. Peter turned towards me. Everybody except him took their seats. He stood right next to my chair in the middle. And here's our president. He held out my chair for me to sit down and smiled. Please. I sat down. I'll let Peter talk. Peter walked to his seat and spoke, still standing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to discuss our current status and plan the remaining of our term. I know that some of you had your concerns about our style of governance so far. There will be a time to speak up about these in the meeting today. But I must also thank you all for your hard work so far. We are very lucky to have a team like this. All of you have been invaluable to this administration. Elias grimaces at his remarks. Having said that, now we have reached a critical point in our term. We are nearing the end. We have worked long and hard, but we couldn't reform the Swedish constitution. The deep state has acted once more. Our proposal had gathered 166 votes, but was unlawfully rejected. The very parliament we control had stabbed us in the back. We have reason to believe that this was an organized effort which Mr. Sol himself was implicated in. The cabinet members started looking at each other. Lucien and I have begun investigating who let us down at the vote when we needed them the most. Gloria and the conservative wing of the party didn't back us up. Kessero Kivinar and the Nationalist Front MPs didn't like the proposal and voted against it. That's obvious. He paused and looked around the room. But the past is the past. We must now look towards our future. We are investigating and analyzing our faults. We will be taking measures accordingly. He glanced both at Lucien and myself. Our party still remains divided. In order to look at the future, we may need to make some changes. On the other hand, the opposition is exploiting our failure to reform. The latest polls show a deep increase in the opposition's support. So, let's start the meeting with a brief look at some reports. He fumbled with a stack of papers in front of him. With the latest developments, we have seen an enormous decrease in our popularity. The public opinion about our party is at an all-time low. He took out a piece of paper from the stack and inspected it. Despite everything, the state of our economy is in very good shape. We have stopped the recession. If everything goes well, it'll be a matter of time that people will feel its results. Our economy is looking good. This is the time to give the best we can for this administration and for Swordland. Yeah, the economy is looking good. We are out of the recession. Peter turned to me. I'll give the word to the president now. He sat down. Mr. Vice President, thank you for the opening. Everyone's eyes were focused on me. First, I want to hear brief reports from each ministry. Peter gestures at Simon, and he immediately stood up. Mr. President, dear colleagues, Mr. Vice President was pretty on point with his summary of the current economic status. The recession has been brought under control. Initial economic reports display a GDP growth of at least 2% this year. Thanks to our balanced budget, we are eyeing a sizable reduction in our national debt at the end of the term, if my economic projection hold up along with the current trends, of course. On the other hand, unemployment has declined. Projections display that we have managed to cut it by 5%, from 16% to 11%. We've successfully put hundreds of thousands back to work. He paused for a moment. This is all great news. Are there any concerning developments? Well, I don't want to get into too much detail right now, but apart from all that, I'll finish with an update on our latest project. The manager reported that everything is going well and very fast with the Benfey Airport. I'll keep it brief for the sake of the whole meeting, and end my report on that note. Thank you, Mr. Hull. Woo! Economy! Economy! If I get re-elected, it's because of the economy. Gus stood up as soon as Simon sat down. I will keep this very brief, Mr. President. The L1 Railway was already proven to be a success. We've managed to bring food prices down in the greater Holsord and Gelsord region. Our agricultural output has increased, and we are already seeing investments coming into rural areas. The trade we with Welland increased our agricultural exports from the Bergia region. We are slowly but surely reigniting the agricultural production. Our ministry is aiding the farmers with government subsidies. We're sure this will have a positive reflection on our economy in the near future. That will be all. Thank you, Mr. Manager. More good news. Next up, Pascal. Mr. President, there is currently no major problems within the Ministry of Health. We're currently investigating some reports from a small polio outbreak around a village called Hamer. I believe we can get into more details in our policy meeting soon. Thank you, Mr. Bennywolf. Izef stepped up. The Ministry of Defense has a very important report regarding our situation with Rumburg. The investigation showed that Rumburg was in fact weaponizing rebels against our state. We learned that they have been aiding the British rebels in Welland too. Our military must stand ready for any possible attack coming from Rumburg. We've gathered intelligence regarding their military research and production. They are building a massive army. Our military is no means to stand against such a superior force if we do not deploy new tactics. We cannot let them threaten us like this. We should bring our military forces closer to Agnolia. Of course, sir. We already started cooperating, but I must highlight that Agnolia cannot stand against Rumburg. We can only trust ourselves. I've heard enough. Let's move on to the next report. David stood up. Mr. President, Perla has agreed to begin deal negotiations. We will be moving on with that very soon. Relations with Agnolia have greatly improved. Our ministers have scheduled many joint projects together. Cooperation between Welland and Sorland has increased to a new level. However, we are seeing negative impacts with Lesbia. The region is very unstable with the incidents at Rumburg, Welland, and Hedgeland. We must be very cautious. We can talk in more detail at our foreign policy meeting. Thank you, Mr. Whiskey. Sierra was up next. Our ministry is working day and night to improve our education system and increase accessibility. We have since built about 100 new schools and improved accessibility. We've costed us a lot with our new curriculum. Our reforms will be greatly improving our output as a society. Lilius suddenly stood up. Mr. President, there is an important report from our intelligence offices. We have disrupted the radio signals of several active Bloodish freedom fronts. militants in Bergia. There seems to be some sort of preparations going on. We might need to implement some new measures soon. We will provide you with a more detailed report at a later date. Unfortunately, after the departure of Governor Braun, the situation special zone had barely changed. Despite not following the extreme policies of the predecessor, Nevercroll is continuing with discriminatory policies against the Bloods in Bergia. I'm afraid if this continues, we will have a major problem in our hand. The reports of the BFF organizing its forces is very concerning. There's one more important thing to ask you. I'd like to transfer the Grand Army under the Ministry to improve the internal security efforts. I haven't heard of this before. I'm still working on the proposal and have legal backing for it. I was going to mention it later. The Ministry of Defense shouldn't be meddling with the interior security affairs through the Grand Army. We have several incidents where they were too violent, too quickly, and it stems from military officers giving reckless orders at times. If the security situation gets more problematic, then it might be necessary. It will eventually cause a problem between our forces. There are already miscommunications going on. Will you transfer the Grand Army to the interior in the future? I will support you in the Grand Army authority transfer. Now it's your turn. Excellent. Lilia smiled faintly. Nia stood up. Since the removal of the Governor Braun from the office, there have been some positive results from British citizens in Bergia. However, Governor Braun seems to be looking for new loopholes to continue Braun's racist policies in different ways. Mr. Urson gained a lot of popularity for his fight against Governor Braun, and is now leading a peaceful ground movement against Governor Kroll. Luckily, I've been working on the semi-autonomous zone project for Bergia, and I have an update on that. Apart from a few small details, the project's ready for implementation. We'll soon be able to get rid of the current governor. I'll send the final documents for you to sign soon, Mr. President. Thank you, Nia. Woo, let's go. Of course. Nia took her seat. Yes, let's go. I'm so happy for that. Next, I want to talk about our new focus and some of my plans going forward. And it won't be difficult because we failed the vote. That's the only upside there is that actually makes that less complicated, strangely enough, because we didn't lose our veto powers. So we have one positive at least. Next, I want to talk about our new focus and some of the plans going forward. The public opinion is concerning. We must focus on campaigning for the next election already. Lucian nodded in agreement. We cannot get elected if we do not convince the public in some way. There was a mixed response, but the majority seemed to be in agreement with me. If there are no comments, let's move on with the meeting. I believe that is everything. One by one, my ministers packed up and I left the White Room. I followed suit and headed to my office. The last 2.5 years had gone by so fast. Yeah, it most certainly has gone by fast. But, ooh, my growth is showing being higher again. Yay. But I think this is a good time to go ahead and end this episode. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.